Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking the commercial strategy behind Cencova Global Health, or SGH for short. We're going to really dissect their highly transparent, super scalable approach to off-grid healthcare. So, if you've ever found yourself wondering how modern medicine actually scales into the absolute most remote regions of the world, well, let's get started. So, here's the fundamental question we have to grapple with right out of the gate. How do you build electronic health records, EHRs, completely off the grid? We're trying to solve a massive legacy problem here. You see, traditional EHR systems, they just completely fail in regions with limited utility stability. When the internet drops or the power grid goes down, that traditional cloud-based healthcare software literally becomes dead weight. So, how does Cencova actually solve this? And this brilliantly illustrates their approach. Instead of relying on a single, massive, monolithic software foundation, the kind that breaks the second one thing goes wrong, SGH uses a hybrid open-source strategy. Basically, they combine proven engines for clinical records and national reporting, and then they sit their very own sovereign layer right on top of it. They prioritize clinical data over satellite networks and keep those clinics running locally on edge servers. It's a real game changer. To make sense of this whole operational model, we're going to follow a pretty clear roadmap today. We'll look at 1. Resilient health infrastructure, 2. Transparent subscription modules, 3. The institutional footprint matrix, 4. The 3 phases of deployment, and finally, 5. The guichet-less sales partnership. This is going to completely demystify the technical, financial, and operational side of SGH for us.
Okay, let's dive into this first section, resilient health infrastructure. Because, let's face it, legacy market EHRs are just completely unsustainable off-grid. They come with these predatory, aggressive per-user licensing fees, and they demand absolute nonstop high-speed cloud access. SGH entirely flips the script. By leveraging that hybrid open-source architecture we just talked about, they wipe out those exorbitant legacy licensing costs. Instead, they provide a highly resilient, offline-ready design that actually adapts to every single level of care, from a tiny rural outpost all the way up to a sovereign Ministry of Health.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, transparent subscription modules. This is where we see how they've shifted away from standard tiers to descriptive service modules. And it starts with a number that is, honestly, incredibly disruptive in the healthcare tech space, $49. That's $49 a month per provider for Module A, the Essential Clinic. So, what does Module A actually deliver? Well, it's precision designed for remote, low-resource primary care clinics. For that $49, providers are getting the core OpenMRS clinical workflows for patient registration and vital tracking. But the real magic here? The absolute crucial feature is the offline-first local data caching. Think about it. If a massive storm knocks out the internet, the medical staff can just keep working. The system caches everything locally on an edge server, and the split second that connection is restored, it automatically syncs right back to the cloud. Plus, you get basic support for point-of-care vital monitors. Now, if we step things up a bit, we hit our next price point at $149 per month per provider. This is Module B, the Telehealth Hub. Module B is absolutely optimal for regional centers acting as hubs for specialist referrals. You get every single thing from Module A, but SGH adds in low-bandwidth audio and visual teleconsultation, and this is specifically engineered to stay stable over weak satellite networks. On top of that, it completely automates local clinic data straight into the DHIS2 national reporting standard. That alone is a massive time saver for administrators. Oh, and it offers plug-and-play integration for advanced diagnostic tools like TidalCare cameras and Abbott iStat handheld blood analyzers. Finally, for the really massive operations, we have Module C, the Enterprise Network. We're talking venture-backed NGOs, huge hospital networks, and national health ministries. Because of the sheer scale here, this module uses custom volume pricing. This is where operations unlock custom white labeling, meaning the software can carry the exact branding of the specific health ministry, along with the full Facility OS API and a 24/7 dedicated account management team. To put that into perspective and give you a concrete idea of how Module C scales, let's look at a quick example. Imagine a regional hospital network onboarding, say, 500 providers. SGH applies a volume discount curve to that. So instead of that standard $149 rate, the network gets a 30% discount. That brings the effective rate down to just $104 per provider per month. And that's just supplemented by a flat $15,000 annual fee for that dedicated round-the-clock enterprise support. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we shift focus from the software subscriptions to the actual physical capital expenditure of scaling a facility. This is Section 3, the Institutional Footprint Matrix.
So, taking a look at this matrix, you really see the sheer elasticity of this pricing model based entirely on headcount. If you look at the top row, a microclinic with fewer than 10 employees requires a pretty modest $5,000 for initial discovery, $25,000 for hardware, and a $10,000 annual software base. Now, scan all the way down to the bottom. Compare that to a sovereign Ministry of Health with over 10,000 employees. The capital expenditure naturally scales up, hitting $3.5 million plus for deployment. The financial structure perfectly and transparently mirrors the real-world impact.
Let's move to and see how this builds out in the real world. Section 4, the 3 phases of deployment.
We're moving from just costs to the actual human operational element of rolling the system out. SGH maps out this sequential journey pretty clearly. Phase 1 is discovery and architecture, happening right off the bat in the first couple of weeks. Phase 2 is the physical deployment and hardware, spanning weeks 3 through 5. And finally, Phase 3 is the go-live and that ongoing SaaS partnership, which usually hits around week 10.
To really visualize this, picture an operations team touching down at a remote rural clinic. They aren't just sitting there looking at software. They are physically on the ground, evaluating existing solar arrays. They're talking with the local medical staff, mapping out clinical workflows on digital tablets. As the quote says, every successful deployment begins with understanding. They are literally architecting a bespoke digital foundation from the dirt up.
Then, boom, the momentum really picks up in Phase 2. Imagine a time-lapse of hardware being unboxed. Technicians are rushing around mounting local caching servers, integrating those Abbott iStat diagnostic analyzers. SGH is deploying this hardened, offline-capable infrastructure so that when the municipal grid inevitably fails, the facility doesn't skip a single beat. And that brings us to the grand finale of the deployment, Phase 3, Go Live. You have smiling medical staff easily navigating a hybrid interface. Doctors are seamlessly conducting teleconsultations, while administrators are looking at their dashboards and seeing 100% of their data synced directly to the DHIS2 system. Like SGH says, this phase, it's all about empowerment.
Which brings us to the final piece of our explainer today, Section 5, the Gigela Sales Partnership. How does SGH actually navigate local bureaucracy to scale?
Well, to rapidly scale in emerging markets like sub-Saharan Africa, SGH proposes something called a Master Sales Agency Agreement. In the source docs, they detail a hypothetical partnership with an entity named Gigela. This agreement acts as a crucial local bridge. It provides SGH with an immediate, culturally fluent, boots-on-the-ground presence that you just can't build overnight. So the crucial point is how this labor is divided up. SGH acts as the remote technical provider. They handle the software, the infrastructure, and the platform engineering. Gigela, on the other hand, operates as the exclusive on-the-ground regional extension. Instead of SGH trying to blindly navigate complex Ministry of Health bureaucracies from thousands of miles away, Gigela leverages their already established relationships. They handle the local lead generation, the physical site walkthroughs, the tender bidding. It turns software into actual global infrastructure.
Which leaves us with this final provocative question. When you totally bypass those fragile legacy cloud systems and instead combine highly resilient off-grid technology with deeply rooted local partnerships, what are the limits? How will this framework entirely transform the future of global health? It's a wildly fascinating model, and it's one that is actively rewriting the rules of what is possible in remote care right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the status quo.